Let me introduce Dr. Shuchi. She has been a friend of MJC for a very long time. She has helped us in many projects, or rather, she's helping us also now currently. She is a teacher with about 20 years experience who holds a Ph.D. in organizational behavior. And she is the board member, director of many schools. She has been a mentor, administrator, teacher, whatnot in every facet of education. She has been there for the last 20 years. In fact, it's a great pleasure to have you here in the midst of all of us. The last position was director of IILM School in Delhi. Of course, she will be probably tracking through her experiences and what she has done in her life. She has done a lot of, published many research papers, and had done a lot of pioneer work, particularly in the areas of curriculum development, faculty development, student development, international collaborations, and partnerships development. We are honored to have you here. I know all of us will be benefited. In fact, not only the faculty, some of the students in the hostel also have joined the program. I'm sure they will also be able to take away some learnings from this session. Thank you, Dr. Shuchi. Thanks, and over to you.
So, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the warm welcome. It's indeed a pleasure to be interacting with all of you. So, as Mr. Matthews just said, that I have been into academics for more than 20 years now. And as such, teaching and learning has been something very close to my heart. And over the years, what I have seen and observed is that if one is little flexible, if one is little open to ideas and new approaches, it kind of enhances the student's learning experience, and it also enhances the teaching experience also. So, if in this session, basically, I'm going to share my thoughts on innovative approaches to teaching and learning. So the question often comes is, why innovate? To share some examples, when Amazon came up with this unique concept of online bookstore, it actually brought a closure to number of brick and mortar bookstores in USA. Or let's say Domino's, which is unique concept of home delivery of pizza, actually brought the shutters down on number of pizza parlors in Europe. Or in India, take Dainik Bhaskar, a vernacular newspaper, which was a state-based newspaper, and it now is the third largest newspaper in the world in terms of circulation. And why? Because they only challenged the conventional way of doing business. So the thing is, either you innovate or you become extinct. And this, I feel, is applicable to all industry, including the education industry. So if we see, the traditional model in education so far has been across the globe, that is the chalk and the board approach. The teacher is the source of information. But a lot of research which has gone in has shown that this conventional or traditional method is not the best method to teach the students. What is required is a different kind of approach to teaching, to assessment, the methodology which you use in class, which actually yields effective results, and it is also creates students who are lifelong learners. So basically in this session, I'll be covering two parts. The first part, I'll focus little on communication, why is it important for teachers? And second part, I will focus on the instructional strategies, the different instructional strategies which you can use. So I'll just be sharing my PPT with all of you. Is it visible to everyone?
Yes, we can. We can see.
Okay. So what we teach and how we teach are very much linked with each other. When I say what we teach, it is basically the content which you take to the class. And this, as teachers, we all have. But what becomes extremely important is how we teach that content to the students. We might be teachers with the best of the experience, with best of knowledge, but actually, unless and until it gets communicated to the students, it is of not much use. If I ask you what are the different roles you play in a class, so what are the different roles? I think it would be teacher, a mentor, a facilitator, a guide, a class manager. All these are different roles which you all are playing in the class. And all these roles require communication. So communication becomes extremely important to be effective educators. And basically because communication is a source of information to the students, it inspires the students, it motivates them. It also plays a crucial role in altering their attitudes. And it stimulates thinking, critical thinking, which we talk so much about nowadays. And it helps in the classroom management process. When I say communication, then it includes both verbal and non-verbal. See, if you see this model, verbal is only 7% of the total communication which we convey to the students. Almost 90% is non-verbal. The way you speak, your posture, your gestures, your pitch, your tone, your body language, that is the non-verbal aspect. Now, suppose a teacher in a class says, I'm happy to have you in my class. But she's frowning while she's saying that. That means her verbal and her non-verbals are not in sync with each other. When such situation arises, it creates a kind of confusion and distrust among the students. Or suppose if a teacher says, I'm happy to have you in my class, and her body language is closed, she's looking very anxious, there is no eye contact. Again, this creates a kind, in such a scenario, if this happens, a student is more likely to believe your non-verbals rather than your verbal, what you are saying. So as educators, we need to be very honest in our communication. Our verbals and non-verbals both have to be compatible with each other in class. To take it further, there is a very interesting model of effective communication which was given by Joseph and Harry, and that is why it is called Johari window. According to this model, there are 4 areas in our personality. One is the open area, that is which contains information which is known to self and which is known to others. So it could be your name, your address, your degrees. So this is an information which is available to everyone around you and to yourself also. So here free flow of communication takes place. Then there is an area called blind spot. So this contains information which others know but you do not know. For example, certain mannerisms, your way of speaking. So you might feel you are showing a lot of curiosity, but to others it might seem very offensive. So these are certain things others feel and know about you which you are not aware. So that is an area called blind spot. Then third is a hidden area. Hidden area is basically an area or information which is known to you but not to others. So it could be your fears, it could be your past experience, it could be your secrets which you have not shared with anyone. And last is the unknown area. That is the area where information neither you know nor anyone else knows. Now, the thing is, to be effective communicators, we have to increase the open area. Now, how do we do that? That can only be done if we reduce the blind spot and reduce the hidden area. Now, blind spot can be reduced by being open to feedback from others. So if we ask feedback from others and they share it with us, our blind spot would get reduced. Hidden area, how would that get reduced is through self-disclosure. When we share certain information about ourselves with others. When this happens, areas get reduced and your open area increases and communication or the flow of communication becomes better. So in class, self-disclosure is important. When we disclose certain aspects of ourselves when we are talking to students, it could be simple things, sharing some information about yourself, your favorite food, hobby, or certain experiences, turning points in your life. When you share it with students in class, it helps to connect with the students, it helps to build rapport with the students, and actually it has been seen that it reduces the anxiety amongst the students also. And they also become more open to sharing their thoughts and feelings with you. And obviously, we should be open to taking feedback from others so that we can improve upon. There are certain barriers to this communication process. And I'm not going to talk about the general barriers like noise and all, but these are the barriers which happen at a very psychological level and which we are not even aware about. So one is, of course, the cultural barriers. When you have people around you who are from different culture, so two things happen. One is the stereotype. We feel, okay, he belongs to a certain group or he belongs to a certain region. We say, okay, he is going to be a certain kind of person based on our stereotypes or preconceived perceptions. And we communicate accordingly. Secondly, the culture could also act as a barrier when we speak certain language or we speak certain words which have different meaning for the other person. So we need to be aware about it. Second is selective perception. So a very interesting story which comes to my mind for selective perception and which would convey to you also. Basically, there was this group of alcoholics sitting in front of a doctor, and the doctor showed them two test tubes. In which one he filled a clear drinking water, and in the other he filled the alcohol. And he put a worm in each of these test tubes. And he asked the group, so what, and the worm which was in the alcohol, that is the test tube with the alcohol, actually died. So he asked the audience, what do you understand from this? And they said, it just shows that if you drink alcohol, all the worms in your stomach would be there. So this is what selective perception is all about. You see what you want to see and you hear what you want to hear. So just on the basis of our interests, our background and experience, we tend to interpret information about other people and communicate accordingly with them. Third is information overload. As it is today, student is overloaded with information, whether it is from social media, whether it is from internet or TV. So as educators, we need to be careful that the information which we pass on does not exceed their processing capacity. If it happens, they would not actually understand the information and it will just pass over them. And the last is the halo effect. And this actually happens at a very subtle level without even our realizing it, where one characteristic of a person overshadows the whole communication. And a classic research has been done on this, and I also did it on a number of workshops in mine and have come up with consistent result all the time. So here is a list of characteristics which is shared with a group of people, and they are asked to find out what kind of a person he or she is. Now, on the basis of this list, the group has usually come up with characteristics like he is a person who is very ambitious, he is a person who is very focused, he is a person who is not very friendly. Those kinds of characteristics are formed for this person. When I showed this list to the other group, the kind of characteristics they call out is he is an extrovert, he is outgoing, he is humorous, he is friendly. Now, very interesting, if you see, both the lists have exactly the same words, except there's a difference of one word, warm and cold. The rest of the 5 traits are absolutely same. That is determined, intelligent, skillful, practical, industrious. And same as in the other list also. But when you show it, very different perception is formed about the person. And this is what halo effect is all about. Sometimes on the basis of one characteristic of a person or a student, we form a generalized opinion about that person. And our communication later on with that person is affected because of this. And this is a classic research which has been done. Suppose I ask you, who is your favorite communicator? Anyone, any leader or somebody you know, and why you think he's a good communicator. If you will think about it, chances are that these three aspects would come. That is ethos, pathos, and logos. So this is basically a rhetorical triangle which was given by Aristotle years, hundreds of years ago, but it's still very, very relevant. Ethos is basically your credibility as a speaker. So as basically your credibility could be because of your experience, it could be because of your degrees, it could be because of your status. So as educators, we do carry certain ethos in the classroom. Second is the pathos. That is the kind of emotions your message is able to evoke in the audience. And if it is able to evoke certain emotions in the audience, there would be a connect with the audience. The third is logos. Logos is that appealing to the sense of logic of the audience. Audience which could be anyone, your students or your colleagues, anyone. And that means your message should be backed with certain research, certain facts, certain statistics, so that it gives a certain weight to that message. And if your communication has all three, ethos, pathos, and logos, it is going to be an effective communication. So in class, we should carry all the three. We do have certain ethos, certain credibility as a teacher. We should evoke emotions in the students while we are speaking to them, so that is pathos. We should use pathos to kind of build connection with the student, and we should use logos to bring credibility to the message we are conveying and appeal to the sense of logic of the students. In fact, I feel this rhetoric triangle should be taught to the students also, because this is one skill which they should carry from the class to their workplace when they go, so that they are able to make convincing arguments and communication with people whom they meet. Before I go further, I wanted to do one very simple exercise. Just think of 3 of the most common strategies which you use in classrooms. Teaching strategy. 3 most common. Everybody is listening?
Probably they can write in the chat.
Yeah, just think about the 3 most common teaching strategies which you use in class, and just see where in this circle they fit in. Okay, so if you have done it, I'll come back to this later on and I'll move on. So the question is, the innovation, why is it required when everything is going fine? And to give certain background to it, this is a pyramid of learning, which is also called a learning cone. And if you see, there are different methods of teaching which are given over here. It includes lecture, reading, audiovisual, demonstrations. So these are passive teaching methods. And then you have discussions, practice by doing, that is experiential, and teaching others, which are more participatory. And if you see the retention rate amongst the student based on these methods, so for lecture, it is just 5%, whereas it goes on to increase to 90% when you use experiential and discussion group methods with the students. Another theory which goes behind is the Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence. Basically, so far we have heard only one about of intelligence. But actually, according to Howard Gardner, every individual has 8 types of intelligence in varying degrees. So some would be high on naturalist but low on musical, or some would be high on bodily kinesthetic but low on interpersonal. Now, this has implication for us as teachers. This means that when we are teaching students, we need to cater to all forms of intelligence. We need to teach them differently and we need to assess them so that students with all different kinds of intelligence are able to understand and also give answers. For example, a student with intrapersonal dominant intelligence would learn best when it is a kind of a reflective exercise when you give it. On the other hand, a person who is high on interpersonal will do best when he is in discussion with other people around him. Or the person who is high on linguistic would understand better if it is a reading material which you give him. Similarly, somebody who is high on bodily kinesthetic would do best when he or she learns things while doing it. Same goes for logical mathematical, that means using numbers, spatial means using images, and naturalist means going out in the environment. So if you see, each individual has a natural tendency to learn certain things in very, very different ways. And as teachers, we need to ensure that we are able to kind of cater to all these different kinds of styles or intelligence of the students so that they learn best. So that means a blanket strategy of teaching students will not work well. Another is Bloom's taxonomy, which you must have also heard about because this is something I saw in the teacher's handbook which CBSE has shared. And Bloom's taxonomy is basically giving us a hierarchy of cognitive skills, starting from remembering, understanding, applying, and going on to evaluating and creating. The lower two are basically lower order skills, and the next four are higher order thinking skills. And as the student should be able to have all the 6 skills when they are going to the schools or to the college. So right from remembering to creating, they should be able to do. And that is why Bloom's taxonomy is often used to make learning outcomes and assessments are based on it, so that all the 6 cognitive skills are learned by students. And that also shows that teaching has to be different so that the assessment should be different as per this Bloom's taxonomy. Let me just share certain instructional techniques. Of course, there are many, but I'll just focus on few of them. First is storytelling. In fact, this is a pedagogy which the education policy which has come out latest in 2020 also focus on. That is this one pedagogy which everybody should be using. And actually, if you see, storytelling is a natural mode of sharing information. Even before a student starts going to school, he or she is learning through various stories told to him by people around him. The stories about family, stories related to history. So the learning has already started. The good thing about story is that it engages the students, it creates interest in them. When you teach them abstract concept, they might be intimidated by it. But if it is weaved into a kind of story, it eases the learning process. Secondly, stories also provide structure for remembering the course material. Understand, if there are certain isolated concepts which you are teaching, student might not remember. But if they are built into a story, recalling one part of the story, it's easier to recall the second part of the story. And so they are able to relate all the concepts. In fact, a lot of advertisements are now using storytelling, this form of conveying to the audience, because the recall value of story is very high. It overcomes students' resistance and anxiety. And also, I think story building element should be used in whatever subject you are teaching. Even if it's a subject like where you're talking about facts and research, sharing of certain story about the researcher who actually built that theory would build in a human element into what you are teaching. And there's a whole wealth of resource from where you can pull out a story. It could be your literature, it could be your history, it could be fiction, it could be biographies, it could be your own experience. You could even make a story. So I think storytelling has potential well as a form of pedagogy in the classroom. Then there's a case method. Case method is basically a story being told in the class only, followed by discussion. Basically, here you tell the background information of the company or an individual to the students, followed by the current dilemma which they are facing. And then students are asked to discuss on that and come out with various answers and solutions to the dilemma. The good thing about case method is that it encourages critical thinking, communication, and interaction between the students. And the students can come up with multiple ideas about the situation. So it is commonly used in many places. Video cases are also available. So rather than only giving printouts, you can also use video cases online which are available, and it kinds of gives a audio and visual both are available to the students, and the learning is better. Then there's research method. Research includes both primary and secondary research. Secondary research, I think a lot of us are already doing it, where we ask students, we give them certain topics and we ask them to make a project to draw from various sources, whether it is internet, whether it is library. They collect all the information and then they present it to you. It is fine because it does deepens the learning. The student is actually going and collecting the information, so he's reading a lot. But what we need to be aware of it is the plagiarism aspect. We need to sensitize the students about plagiarism. Usually what the students do nowadays is cut, copy, paste. And if that takes place, so there are two things. One is, of course, sensitizing the students that they should not be, because there's academic integrity which is involved. And the second is, there are a number of plagiarism checkers available, like Turnitin, and some number of checkers on online which are free of charge, which can be used by educators to assess whether the student has actually written the report on their own or whether it has been a cut, copy, paste. Second is primary research, that is actually going out in the field, talking to people, doing surveys, preparing questionnaires, collecting data, and analyzing that data, and then presenting it to you. So this is an active learning method, and actually it is very good, because here the students get to go out, think how they will ask questions, they get to interview people, and then on that basis they do certain analysis and they interpret the data. So research method is another method. Field trips, yes, they are very good because they break the monotony of the classrooms and they have the experiential learning aspect attached to them. So you can, the important thing is when you take the students to the field trip, whether it could be an industry, it could be a historical site, or it could be a museum, or it could be a farmhouse, whatever, wherever you are taking them, please ensure that when you take them out, it completes the experiential learning cycle. That is the Kolb's model, if you have heard about, and that is you provide them with the concrete experience, which should be followed by a reflective discussion, and then on that basis they should be able to do analysis and apply it to a new situation. So that completes the whole experiential learning cycle. Just taking them out in the field and just showing and observing things will not complete the learning cycle. Then there's a role-playing approach which can be used right from elementary school till college level. Basically, here what happens, a scenario is given and the students are allotted different roles, and they are given few minutes to think about it, and then they present it to the class. There's audience and there is the people who play out the role. Both are important. After role play, discussion is extremely important to find out why the students played the part the way they did and what inferences can come from it. This role-playing approach is also good because it uses multiple learning styles. So it caters to different students with different learning styles. It helps in building interpersonal skills, in communication skills, conflict resolution, developing insights, and group decision making. So this is one approach which should be used readily. Reflective learning. So it is a metacognitive strategy which helps to develop creative thinking skills. In fact, I was going through the course on entrepreneurship which is being run at MJC. And if you see over there, the students are, as the course is progressing, they are also filling a workbook. Now that is reflective learning. So whatever is taught in class, they go back, they reflect upon it, and on that basis, they apply it to their own business or what they are thinking about. And this helps in developing creativity and creative thinking skills among the students. Movies are integral part of our life. Students love seeing movies. So why not use it as an educational tool? You can show a clip of the movie or you can show the whole movie. The good thing we know about movies, it engages students, it creates interest among them. And also if you show movies like suppose Gandhi, it not only tells them about the person, his background story, but it also tells about the culture during that and the lifestyle during that time. Or say movie like 12 Angry Men, which talks about negotiation skills, or movie like Apollo 13, which talks about teamwork and space travel, or Hindi movie like Chak De India, which again is about mentoring and teamwork. So you need to identify movies which can be shown to the student. They are very good in developing competencies like teamwork, empathy, resilience, and collaborations. In fact, there's a website also, Teach with Movies, which gives you a whole lot of movies based on different themes, which can be used. But the thing is, again, lot of preparation is required when you go and with the students and you show them the movie. You need to prepare your worksheets. You need to give them certain questions before they go and see the movie so that they reflect on these questions when they come out of the movies. And they discuss, and then on that basis, you build on your concepts. Well, social media, the students, every youngster I feel is now on social media. So why not use the potential of this medium and leverage the power of this medium to enhance our teaching and learning? So if you see the statistics which is over here, I think in 2020, 376 million users are in India, and it is projected to increase to almost 450 million users by 2023. And in this, 80% of the users belong to the millennial and the Z generation. That is, they are below 30 years of age. So social media has a lot of potential, whether it is Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. What you can do, or as educators, we can create subject-specific group on social media. For example, students can be asked to write their ideas on Facebook page, which is again subject-specific, or a blog, which is again, you can create a blog which is subject-specific, and other students can be asked to comment upon it. In fact, I did use this method in one of my classes, and it was very effective. What I did was on Facebook, I had created a subject-specific group, and the students were asked to post a creative idea on that. And they were also supposed to give feedback to the creative ideas which other students had written. Now, they were assessed on two things. One was the ideas which they had posted, but also on the quality of feedback which they gave to other students. Now, that means then there was a genuine feedback which was shared with amongst the students. And actually, it created a lot of synergy among them. So, Facebook, Instagram, blogs, WhatsApp could be used for this purpose. And there are four aspects to social media: content, which I call 4 C's: content, creative expression, connecting, and collaboration. So content is basically lot of information which you can share with them on social media. It is a beautiful medium for students to express themselves creatively. So Instagram, for example, can be used for digital storytelling. I've seen people put up beautiful stories about their life journey on Instagram. We can give them certain topics or project which the students can be asked to post on Instagram in a visually appealing manner, and they can be assessed. Then it can be a good tool to connect across the globe for various projects. So it's a social networking site, and the students can connect with students across the world, and they can identify and work on international projects. And same way goes for research also. So it can be used as a tool or collaborating for research across the world. Educators and teachers can also create their virtual library. They can create their personal blogs where they upload all their writings, their academic works, and so it builds on your virtual library from which the students can draw upon. So it has a lot of potential, social media. Mind mapping, again, another technique which can be used across all age groups. Here you give a central topic like to the students, and from there they build out various branches which lead to the key ideas connected to the central topic, which are further branch out, giving what are the subsets of the key ideas. Basically, it helps students to relate to each other and how the concepts are related to each other and how they fit into the larger knowledge framework. And it also helps in organizing the information. This kind of tool you can use before you start a class or introduce a new topic in the class. So basically, it would help in brainstorming. The students will brainstorm and come up with different things. It will help you to understand what is the current level of knowledge of the students. And it would also help you to know what they think about, where the thought process is about that particular topic. This is a new technique called spaced learning, and a lot of research is still going on in this area. Basically, this talks about that the teachers in classroom share information in 3 chunks. So basically, 15, suppose a 1-hour class, you can give input to the students for 15 minutes, followed by a break of 10 minutes, where you do an activity which is not related to, which could be, I mean, any game or a video which can be shown. Then again, another 15 minutes of recalling of that information, and then again a break, and then finally the application. Basically, this method is based on a theory of Ebbinghaus, which is how forgetting takes place and how to improve the recall. So basically, that theory says if you learn in chunks, the learning is better. And a lot of research is still going on, but this is one of the potential future method of teaching which might come in. So there are a lot of other methods which are there, but I'll not go into all of them. Just to give you an idea, the key thoughts which one can carry from what I've talked so far is that variety is very important in your instructional strategies and in the kind of assessments you are doing. Each individual, each student is different. So you need to teach them in ways which is different. You can't use the same method of teaching for all the students. Just to go back to the figure where I'd asked you to identify the 3 instructional strategies which you use most in your class. If all your instructional strategies are clubbed in one circle, then we need to do something about it. But if it is spread out across the circles, then it's fine. So basically, we need to use instructional strategies which are direct, which are interactive, which are independent, which are experiential, and which are kind of sharing also. So all 5 instructional strategies should be used in classroom. Active learning is important. The students should be engaged in the learning process. It should not be a passive learning. Assessment and teaching should be linked with each other. So the conventional model so far was that the teaching is separate and the assessment is separate. But what we have to see that the teaching and assessment should be intertwined and go hand in hand. So assessment should be a formative assessment and the learning should be taking place while the assessment takes place. So assessment should be followed by feedback to the students so that they can improve upon learning. The assessment should not, I feel, be time bound but learning bound. Then again, teaching should be personalized, focus on students. And something which I feel very strongly about is the interdisciplinary approach to teaching. Please see if the students, when they, our world which they go out is an integrated world. And the kind of problems our students are going to face is not something which they would have to derive knowledge from various subjects, not just one. To solve that problem, they need to derive knowledge from various subjects. And what we have been doing so far is that we have been working in silos, whether it is subject, whether it is department, whether it is teacher. So he's a maths teacher, he's a science subject. All subjects are in individual silos. So we need to bring out a kind of common place where they can be integrated so that the students develops a holistic perspective. And it can be done. I mean, one way of doing is to identify topics which can be taught by teachers from two different subjects. They come to the class and teach it together. Or it could be a project which caters to two very different subjects which can be given. So a student can be assessed, could be given a project which covers both the subject. So there are different ways which interdisciplinary approach can be brought into the classroom. Yes, of course, the teachers would have to sit and identify the points of integration before the start of the academic year. But this is something which is going to happen soon. So basically, what I want to say in the end is that in the 21st century and with the advent of artificial intelligence, a lot of work would be taken up by them. But what we have to teach our students is something, the skills which are exclusive to human beings. So which is collaboration, creativity, problem solving, empathy, all communication. So that these are the skills which we should focus on. And that is what is required. So to end this session, I would want you, once you go back, to select a topic from a subject you teach, identify how you teach that topic, and is it possible for you to teach it differently? So just think about how you can teach that topic in a different way. So any questions? I'm open to it.
Ma'am, my question is that, ma'am, actually you are we are discussing about the social media
Yes.
for the learning. So that I would like to know that whether any curriculum is being blended with the social media at any stage, like objectives or
No, I don't think, so far I haven't seen any curriculum which has been blended with social media. But yes, social media as a tool has been used is being used in number of places, not only in India but abroad. So Yale uses a lot of, like Yale Business School uses a lot of social media in their assessment and teaching also. So that is being done. But when you are saying blending, it means teaching about social media, or is it using as a tool to teach?
not like that, ma'am, as a platform itself. For example, in curriculum there are four major aspects are there, like objectives and teaching learning aspects, content and evaluation, all those things. So in any one of the places, whether it is being blended or not. So of course, I would like to know that. Thank you so much.
Not that I'm aware of so far, not, but yes, it is being used for a pedagogical tool and for assessment purposes. But I can find out.
even who are using social media in different aspects during teaching and learning. But it is framework of curriculum. So that I would like to ask. So it is my curiosity to whether in India any curriculum is being blended with social media. That is why I ask. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. If anybody has any question, please put it. Otherwise, you can unmute because it is teachers here. If anybody want to ask any question, please unmute, introduce yourself, and then ask.
So what are the methods which all of you are using? I mean, if I can ask some of you.
Actually, ma'am, right now we are practiced the different teaching strategies for using students at secondary level, like student centric method only we are following now. ALM, activity based learning, like that we are using now in India, in Tamil Nadu, and also we are giving more. Ma'am, are you able to hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes, we can, but your voice is breaking in between. That's why.
Okay. Actually, in Tamil Nadu, ma'am, we are using ALM method, activity-based and ABL method, like that. These are all the methods right now we are using in all the schools, state board
So
schools.
you're using the experiential learning method?
What, ma'am?
You're using the experiential learning method?
Yeah. Experience learning method. Also we are
So
using
are you
now.
covering the whole cycle of experiential learning?
Not the whole cycle, ma'am, but a little bit we are using, like you said, that the concept mapping, all those things we are introducing in our school level.
Okay, very good.
Actually, even for our dear students, there is a separate practical that they have to make a concept mapping.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Nazima.
The whole session is online, isn't it, ma'am? Now,
Yes.
if it is going to be the case of online learning throughout, how do you feel about this not having a face-to-face interaction, having a thorough online education system throughout? What do you feel about it, ma'am?
So, okay, what I understand, you're asking what you feel about this online education if we have totally online education without face-to-face. Is that the question?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. So, Nazima, basically my understanding, yes, what I feel, online education and technology is here to stay. I mean, and it has to be seamlessly integrated with our teaching so that it becomes part of our life. But again, I feel a hybrid model or a blended learning is definitely better than a totally online classroom. So eventually, both the things have to go hand in hand. We can't completely, of course, because of the current COVID situation, it's been a boon for us, this technology, and we have been able to continue with the education of the students. But later on, I think we will have to follow the hybrid model.
Yeah, that's true, ma'am. That's true. And there are so many rural background children who are coming from very rural areas wherein internet connection itself is not there. So I think a blended learning would do much better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fine, ma'am. Thank you. Perfect, ma'am.
Because there are a lot of things which you can do when you are face to face. So I think a combination of both is always better.
Yeah, there is lot other things that we learn through online. No, face to face also, I believe. You learn discipline, you learn social interaction, yeah.
Absolutely.
And so I think the blended model, yeah.
Yes. In
Yes,
fact,
ma'am. Thank you so much.
Communication which I gave you, it is not only the verbals but the non-verbals. Both are important for communication to get through to the other person. So online along with the face-to-face is important.
Dr. Shuchi, you have one more question, almost the similar answer, but from a different perspective. Divya asked, can you see your chat box?
Yeah. So the question is, at present, we are left with only online education. Does this platform was efficient as physical learning teaching, ma'am? So I think the answer is same. I mean, it is an efficient platform. There is no doubt about it. But again, a hybrid model is something which I would say is good. But some of the strategies which I have talked about can also go in on the online education, which we are doing currently. So whether it is a kind of storytelling or whether it is different kind of assessments, that can be built into online education also. And that is what we have to see to how to make it more engaging to the students. That is something we need to focus on. I mean, technology is there and we are using it currently, and that is the only way to teach nowadays to the students. But how to use it in a way so that it becomes more engaging for the students, that is what we have to look into. In fact, there are a lot of resources. If you go to the Learning Edge website of MIT or Project Zero, lot of resources for the teachers are available. Like Learning Edge would have a lot of simulations and case studies available. So simulations are basically games which provide experiential learning to the students and helps in development of certain skill sets. So they can be used for the students, simulations. And then you have Project Zero, which is an ongoing research work on teaching and learning, which is happening at Harvard. It's a major project. And Harvard Gardner, whom I just talked about, is part of this project. So you would find a lot of material related to teaching and learning on this website also, which as a teacher you can just read and kind of it would help to enhance your understanding. Yes.
Yes, madam. Good evening, madam.
Good evening. Yes.
Madam, regarding the cultural stereo, India is a very union of states. So there are so many nations are united, and it's a republic of India. While teaching history and the literature, directly or indirectly, the small amount of stereo sticking on the teachers, especially the centralized syllabus like CBSE, ICSE syllabus. That, according to my opinion, it is a somewhat stereotype. It is giving more importance to the North Indian culture and North Indian literature like that. It is omitting that syllabus. According to my opinion, it is forgot that India is a union of nations. It is united so many nations. While the schools are following the centralized syllabus, are they are polarized towards North India only. They are not giving much importance to the regional history and regional literature. Here, how a teacher should be without bias, they have to be played. Here we have some challenges. So this is what we have to overcome. Need solution regarding this from you.
To repeat the last part of the question, the last part.
Sorry, madam.
Can you repeat the last part?
Yes.
I mean,
yes, madam. Actually. Yes, madam. Actually, India is a union of nations. Already there are so many nations. So the centralized syllabus, ICSE syllabus, CBSE syllabus, gives, according to so many opinion, that gives more importance to the North Indian culture only, North Indian culture literature. It is totally omitting the other national literature. So as a teacher, the teacher working in so many nations, that is so many states, there the stereo is sticking on North Indian culture and literature only. So the students don't have the opportunities to learn our local literature, local history. So this is missing in that ICSE syllabus. So how can we overcome these issues?
No, I think one is, of course, we should be able to convey it to if you feel very strongly about it, it should be conveyed to the right authorities. And still, if it is continuing in your own way as a teacher, you can impart certain inputs to the students, which goes beyond the syllabus also. So yes, a syllabus is given, we have to teach this, but if you feel strongly about that, yes, there are certain portions which need to be known to the students or taught to the students, we can go beyond the syllabus also. I mean, it can be conveyed to the students so that they have a better and the holistic understanding of the history, as you say. And of course, if you feel it should be conveyed to the right authority so that they make the changes accordingly. One should try to use as many mediums as possible to convey information to the students. And whichever suits, as I said, each student learns in a different way. So whatever suits them would help in their learning process.
Madam, excuse me, madam.
Yes.
Madam, I need your opinion only. Okay, it is not. I'm not expecting that. I'm not forcing to answer this question. See, India is a diverse in nature in all kind of. So the teaching learning is differs. Students' learning abilities are differ. Tribal people are there. Still, people are living without electricity, without house. Tribal people are there. So many diversities is there. In this circumstance, as you said, we are following so many teaching learning method and the evaluation method also. In this circumstance, whether the common evaluation system that is as like a NEET is need or not, whether that is state wise it is acceptable or the national wise is entrances are like this kind of evaluation, whether it is need or not, such as like in Indian country.
No, what you are saying, definitely it's a food for thought, and I think one should think about it, and whether it's a common platform that should be given or it should be customized as per the requirements of the different states. Absolutely, I mean, this is something which needs a lot of discussion and debate, and before coming, and it should have people, when the discussion takes place, it should be open across all the states. It's not should be confined to certain states or certain groups only. So I agree on that part, that if the inputs should be taken from all the states before the final syllabus should be drawn. That is there.
Excuse me, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
I'm Sheila, ma'am. Ma'am, when we are all talking about the online education, ma'am. But in this
Yes.
pandemic period, whatever we talking about, something is better than nothing. Then
Yes.
anyway, nowadays teaching, learning, project works, evaluation and assessment, everything is going on. Then some places and the internet work is very less only having. Then anyway, because of this pandemic only, we have to come to know this much level the social facilities we are using also.
You're using social media?
Yes, ma'am. That like only online only we are teaching. Then everything we're doing.
So how are you using social media to teach students? That's a very good thing.
And WhatsApp,
So how
through WhatsApp.
WhatsApp for classes and discussions?
Every discussion and everything, every instructions we are all passing through WhatsApp only. Then
Yeah.
Google.
So try to use social media in a more creative way, so where the students have a chance to express themselves more. So what you all are doing is great. I mean, I've seen how you are conducting your classes, which is very good. But just we need to enhance and use it more creative way and engage the student in the process. So again, social media should not become a one-way process when you are teaching the students. It should involve and engage the students also. So let them come up with the content, let them come up with the, and you give them kind of formative assessments, which can be done on social media also. So that is important. But if you're already into it, it's very good, and you can only build on that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
In fact, there is a lady called Alice Keeler, and she writes a lot of blogs on Google Classes, and that could be a good resource to find out how to make Google Classes more interesting. Are you doing anything on interdisciplinary aspects?
No, ma'am. Actually, no, we don't have such projects such. But when I was in CBSE school, I was practicing all these things. But the state syllabus that doesn't facilitate such a thing among the students. But I really wish in some classes on experimental basis I have tried this, ma'am. This has worked out. But in future I like to do this, and that is what even new NEP just stressed I found it very interesting when I was using those interdisciplinary projects and all, when I was assigning the students and all, the way that they responded and the output that I really got from the students were wonderful. But unfortunately, the state syllabus doesn't stress on that particular thing. They always concentrate on completion of syllabus and all other things. We were not able to do that. I hope the new policy is going to help us with all these things, and I think teachers also will adapt to such things, ma'am. But
Yeah.
one thing what I liked in this session is using social media. But I have a question regarding that also. When I started giving some projects related to something on social media and all, I found at least 50% of the students, they were able to use good English or any language that they were used to. But some children, they started learning the short text that they used to give in this WhatsApp and all other things like thank you. They used to write only teach you and all. But I always feel bad whether the children will lose their language competency when they keep on texting in WhatsApp and all other medias like this. I have a fear, ma'am.
Yeah, what you are saying is true. That is the flip side of the new technology and the new generation, which the kind of language which is very abbreviations which they use. But then that is there. We can always discourage them. But yes, we need to accept it also because that is something which they would continue using. And so we also need to adapt as per the changing times on this. But what you are saying is right. They might lose out on their grammar and the English, the way they write the English. That is there. And the second part, the what you have mentioned was the interdisciplinary approach which you have used, which is very good. In fact, as you rightly said, the new education policy also talks about it. It talks about art integrated education, which needs to be followed in all the schools and colleges. So this is something which is going to come to all the schools and colleges now.
Thank you, ma'am. Actually, I'm waiting for such things to happen because I had this experience when I was in CBSE board. The children, they were presenting beautiful projects. It was all amazing, unexpected things. We never expected that children could come out with such innovations, but they were able to do. Sometimes we do misjudge or miscalculate children's talents, but no, sometimes they come up with a lot of innovations that is really wonderful and most fascinating in a school. That's what we are waiting for, ma'am.
Yeah. In fact, these kind of interdisciplinary approach actually kind of enhances the creativity of the students, and we kind of underestimate the students. They really come up with beautiful ideas and projects. So, and there are a number of ways you can introduce interdisciplinary approach in the schools and colleges.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, in case we don't have anything, almost more than an hour, Dr. Shuchi has been speaking. Shall we? Is there any more? I hope there are no questions.
So, it's been a pleasure talking to all of you, and in case you have any questions later on also, you can always write to me or WhatsApp me and I'll be happy to answer.
Yeah, I will tell you, Dr. Shuchi, I will tell you what we normally do. Divya is an organizer. She, in case anybody has any questions, we send it to her. She will pile it together and then she will mail it to you. And answers are again mailed back to the participants later. One.
Okay.
The whole program is recorded. MJC got a YouTube channel. This will be edited and put up in the YouTube channel. Then immediately in case somebody has missed part of it, they will be able to view it again. Or if suppose they missed also, it will be done. So that is what we normally do. This will be done in your case, this sessions also. I would like to thank you for your time and for being with us all throughout this time. It was a great to have you and understand. In fact, believe me, on a personal note, I was taken back to my B school OP days. So, a part of it, when you are talking about Johari window and all, I was thinking,
But it is still very relevant, and I thought I need to sensitize. In fact, this is one of the, as I said, I was talking about hybrid model. In case it was a normal workshop kind of situation, I would have given a psychometric assessment to find out where everybody stands on self-disclosure and feedback openness.
I can understand that. Anyway, thanks. From me, I said on a personal note, anyway, I could revisit all my old OB, some of the areas. One second is, what I found, of course, there were many questions on this. It was very interesting, when you said, that social media can be utilized. In fact, I know in our institution, WhatsApp is widely used along with Google Meet, particularly in the school. It has found to be a very effective tool for the interaction of the teachers with the. But I never knew about Twitter and Facebook and all. Anyway, it's all good.
Instagram is very popular with students, with youngsters nowadays. More than Facebook, they are on Instagram. So
yes,
Instagram can also be used for various methods of assessments.
Yes, very true, very true. Because as you rightly said, the statistics also says 60% of the youngsters, not the out of the total users, 60% is millennial or people below 30.
80%.
80%, right? And
80% are millennials.
And 100% are on Instagram and Twitter as well as LinkedIn. So those are the areas, if you want to use for students, those are the areas. Anyway, thanks for your time. I really, personally, I really enjoyed the session. I'm sure it was a very good session for all of them also. They would have taken away a lot of learnings. We will be sending you, in case we get any more questions, we will be sending it back to you. Thanks from all of us. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. It was a pleasure interacting with you.